You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show.
It's good to be back.
I mean, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, it has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager, so I gotta keep pushing them to be better. They're not getting better. They're not. We keep making the same mistakes. And I'll be very honest about it, very open about it. You get frustrated, but at one point, it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? What's gonna change? Because we keep doing the same thing. We're gonna keep talking about one-run losses.
I surrender. Alex Cora. Just throw the white flag. It's only 17 one-run losses. You only have 267 errors that leads Major League Baseball since 2023. This organization is not fundamentally sound, teaching players how to play. They stink. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Hump Day Wednesday here on the Coastal Sports Network. How are you today? Thanks for checking us out across the video platform. Follow me at PShep326 on Twitter and X. Also on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, CSN, Florida, LinkedIn. Call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And, of course, check us out, SR1029 The Game, SR1029thegame.com. Make sure you download the app. Good morning, everybody. It's Hump Day Wednesday, June 4th. The Red Sox have lost 17 one-run games this year. I believe they're 6-17 in one-run games. Only 3 more errors last night. As I said, an embarrassing, leading the majors with 267 errors over the last, since 2023. Beyond embarrassing. And then your manager last night quit. He flat out quit. And I don't give a gosh damn what the contract is. There is no way you can keep Alex Cora on as a manager. You simply can't. We're going to get to that reaction from my buddy Tom Caron and Will Miller-Brooks from Nesson last night about what Alex Cora said and how his body language and everything that came out of his mouth. He has given up. There is no doubt in my mind, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, he has given up. It's blatantly obvious. We got the Knicks imitating the Toronto Maple Leafs again. They fired Tom Thibodeau. He only got to the conference championship for the first time in 25 years. Let's let him go. Yeah, you can criticize some bench management moves here and there, and I get it. Maybe if your boys had hit a couple of free throws, maybe the Knicks would have extended this series. But let's do what the Knicks do best, which is fuck it up. Just like the Maple Leafs, and they screwed this up too. Tom Thibodeau is a fine coach. He'll have another job sooner rather than later. And now you're going to have to be insufferable with ESPN. And thank God for them, Thibodeau got fired, because otherwise they wouldn't know what to talk about. Because they can't talk about anything else except Knicks stuff. So they spend an hour, delving into the, so who are you going to hear next? Mike Malone, Dan Hurley, Van Gundy. That's all you're going to hear. Insufferable. But the Knicks are stupid. Dolan is stupid. Their organization is stupid. And you are no better than the Toronto Maple Leafs. You are the same exact organization, although they've had a tiny bit more success than you have. Not much, but a tiny bit. But you fire your coach after, arguably the best season you've had in 25 years. There's been steady improvement since he took over that program 4 or 5 years ago. And this is how you repay him, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, and your dumbass organization fires him. You guys are stupid. Just absolutely stupid. Meanwhile, so we got the Stanley Cup Final underway tonight, Edmonton at Florida. We will have a preview of that. Mick Colaggio will join me at 8:05. We'll delve into that. Bill Spiros at 8:30 this morning from the Boston Herald and bookies.com. Lots to discuss there. I'm sure he has a lot of thoughts. And then Patrick Gilroy, our NBA insider, back at 9:05 this morning as we will delve into this Tom Thibodeau situation, get a little Celtics update as well, an NBA update, get his thoughts on who he thinks might be the next head coach of the Knicks. I'm sure he's in kind of agreement with me. I mean, look, you want to criticize Tom Thibodeau for some bench manager moves, okay. Maybe some constructive criticism is deserved, but you cannot deny overall what that guy has done for that organization. Just came off the best year you've had in 25 years. It's so stupid. You are the Toronto Maple Leafs, you jackasses. You guys are the same. It's the same organization. It's unbelievable. You're never going to win. And you're not going to get Giannis. You're not going to, and it doesn't matter. Put on that Knicks jersey, you're going to fail. Eventually, you're going to fail because your organization's going to fail. And Ben Stiller, shut up, Ben. Yeah, you have a right to your tweets and everything else. You are such a jackass when it comes to this team. You just won't see past the orange and blue binoculars. You and Spike Lee, you think the Knicks are relevant. You think they're back. They're only back because ESPN can't get over themselves. They can't help but talk about them, even when they're not. The Knicks are not back. You're back when you at least get to the NBA Finals, maybe, or win something. You're not back. They're going to take a step backwards next year. You watch. They're not going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals next year, or be lucky to get out of the first round. But you Knicks fans out there, you keep dreaming the dream. Keep dreaming the dream. Right up there, I'm telling you, you should have a hotline like Commissioner Gordon did to Batman. You should have a fucking hotline to the Toronto Maple Leafs front office, and you, Dolan, and everybody else can communicate with the Maple Leafs and go back and forth about which organization has become more pathetic. Anyway, good morning, Angel Martinez, and how are you as your Phillies keep winning?
I'm doing good, although I'm enjoying the rant backstage.
Am I wrong? I mean, I think that's a good get. Get the Batman hotline to Commissioner Gordon, and they can go back and forth and compare how pathetic each organization is.
No, you're right, though. It's unfortunate. And good morning, everyone out there. Appreciate everyone tuning in this morning. But yeah, no, you're right, though, because the Knicks still aren't relevant. They know that. Jalen Brunson out at the very end of the Warner pressers, he was upset because he didn't like, I guess, a question that was raised his way. But again,
yeah, he was upset, and he was, he said, "Is that the question you're going to ask me right after this?" Because the question was asked, "Is Tom Thibodeau the guy to keep moving forward?" And he said, "Yes."
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think a lot of folks.
Miguel Bridges, you make that trade for a non-All-Star. They make a couple of free throws. The series different. A little bit different. You can criticize Thibodeau a little bit for some bench management, but regardless, we criticized Joe Mazzulla too back then. Thibodeau's been way more experienced and used to be a Celtic assistant. Great. He's a very, very good / nearly a great coach. He really is. But you look at Mazzulla, you look at some other coaches, even Mike Malone and Denver had, there was a development there. And I don't know how the Knicks can justify doing this. Now, the unbelievable thing is, because I've talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago with Patrick Gilroy. We thought Thibodeau might get fired at some point because this does not surprise me. People in Bristol, Angel, this morning are like, "Oh, this came out of nowhere." Not if you listen to this show. We said that was probably going to be the case if they didn't get there. Unfortunately, they overachieved this year as an organization, and a big part of it is to him. And I give them a lot of credit because the Knicks, you could say, I can criticize them all they want. One thing they basically did not do was quit. They didn't quit against the Celtics. They didn't quit against Indiana. They came back from several 20-point deficits, even won a game. They didn't quit. If Tom Thibodeau was that much of a jackass of a coach, that team would have lost by 40 and 50 points as some of these other teams did. So the fact that they hung around and even got 2 wins, and they could have gotten 3 had they hit a couple of free throws. Could have sent it to Game 7 back to Madison Square Garden. But they don't get it over there, Angel. They don't get it at all with the Knicks. The same thing with the Maple Leafs. But continue. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine. As I'm about to bring up Jerry's text here from Rhode Island, and good morning to Jerry. As he says, "Good morning, guys. Hey, Pete, you forget about the Jets?"
Oh, they're in a whole other different patheticness on their little island. That's the Jets are irrelevant. I mean, the Jets are the Jets. This is the Knicks are at least have gotten to the playoffs.
Yep.
They can. No. They won a series or 2.
Listen,
the Jets are.
That's the same way. I mean, I know it's 2 different sports before anybody says anything else. It was the same with the Eagles. The Eagles for years, they were trying to figure out what they were doing wrong, and then they finally made success. And then when they got rid of Doug, everybody thought, all right, what the hell now? And then Nick, thankfully, turned around and won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. But New York, I don't understand it. And then who are you going to bring in now? Doc? Like, who's going to be your answer?
No, that's the candidates are easy, Angel. Mike Malone is going to be the top of the list, more than likely. They're talking about maybe Jeff Van Gundy coming back, which I don't see, even though he did a great job with the Clippers this year as a defensive coach. And he was with the Celtics. He was a big help to Joe Mazzulla this past year, but before that. Him and Sam Cassell as assistant coaches were a tremendous help to Joe Mazzulla and his development. So Van Gundy did it. The Clippers, I think, were third in defense in the league this year. Nobody, don't realize that. The people on ESPN don't realize that because they don't watch it. But I do and others do, and I pay attention to that kind of stuff. But a big part of it had to be him on the bench. But I think you're going to hear Dan Hurley at UConn again. And here's because he didn't take the other job. He didn't take the Laker job. That was too far away. Now you're going to hear, well, it's the Knicks job. It's on the East Coast, and it's close to his family. And that's certainly a possibility. They could Jedi mind trick him to the Knicks. Whether he wants to take that job, I don't know. Mike Malone's name is absolutely going to come up. You're going to hear Jay Wright's name come up, former Villanova head coach. His name will come up as well. I mean, it's just a question of it'll be money. It'll be money, but the Knicks cannot afford to miss on this next hire. And I don't think they missed on Thibodeau. I think they made a tremendous mistake by letting him go. But whoever comes in to take his place, good luck. Good luck. You probably get a whole bunch of money. Expectations will be either win the championship or you suck. And I guess if you're a Knicks fan or a New Yorker, you can have that delusion of grandeur if you'd like. You're not as relevant as you think. I know the NBA likes to have the Knicks winning because with the Knicks winning. They're relevant when the Lakers are I don't give a shit about that crap anymore. That's why I'm looking forward to this Indiana OKC series, even though I think OKC is going to win in 5. I am not interested. I'm too old to get involved in what markets are. And I understand ratings-wise from a business standpoint. I get it. They would love to have seen the Celtics and the Lakers or the Knicks and the Lakers, blah, blah, blah. I understand all that. But it has become so ridiculous now. It's almost like marketing yourself. Remember back in the day, Angel, it used to be athletes want to go to New York or Los Angeles or Miami or a big market where they can market. But I mean, this day and age, you can live on the moon and market yourself if you have the right agent and the right people around you. I'm not buying into, it's New York and LA, the number 1 and number 2 markets, and if you're not there, then you can't be anything, and yada yada, and then you got people want to come to Florida because they can play golf, and it's a great. People want to go where there's an intact organization where you can win. Why do you think people want to go to UConn? Because of the weather? No. Because of the location? Fuck no. I mean, if you can get lost. Trust me, I've gotten lost going to stores back in the day. It's like you're driving through the woods and all of a sudden, there it is. That was before the football stadium, but the big one got built. But, I think those days are done. The national media will keep throwing that at you like you should believe it, like it's everything's better. It's about the players. It's about players. I don't care where they play. It doesn't matter to me. It just doesn't matter. Ratings-wise, I'm not saying it's not going to matter. This might very well be the lowest rated NBA Finals in quite some time. And that's too bad because there's a lot of great players on both of these teams. It really is. And I'm looking forward to it, even though I think OKC is going to win it in 5. I'm just tired of the minutia. And then they spend more time yesterday. Alan Hahn finally, on one of the shows that I watched for 5 minutes, finally said, enough of this who is this face of the league shit. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You want to say it's LeBron or Jokic. I don't go to the water cooler. I don't call you up. I don't text. I don't text my friends going, who's the face of the NBA? I don't care. Most people don't care. They don't. Who's the face of Major League Baseball? All right, you want to say Shohei Ohtani? Now Mike Trout again, since he's... Again, all right. And what? Face of the league is Shohei Ohtani. Okay. What do you want me to do about it? What do you want me to do? Go out and buy the video game? Whatever. I don't care about that minutia crap. It doesn't matter. I care about my manager sucking and admitting he sucks and the team stinks and can't field a ground ball. 3 more errors last night. They fall behind again 3-0. They did come back and tie it before losing on a double fucking play ball in the 10th inning. It's just absolutely unbelievable. All right, and I'm gonna get the Red Sox stuff. Let's get into it right now, Angel. You have to scroll down a little bit, down to yeah. So we're also going to get into. We may not have time today, and I wish that Jay Flanley was on because the Florida Board of Governors has also vetoed the hiring of new Florida President Santa Ono, who's from Michigan, by the way. For whatever reasons, I'm sure part political, part his philosophy and how to run the organization or run the Gators, which is all about you better be on board with the sports or you're screwed. So there's obviously some difference in philosophy. I have a feeling it's more political than it is his philosophy on running an institution. But nevertheless, first time ever that the Board of Governors has vetoed an incoming president at Florida. So that is interesting, and I don't know if Jay is up yet. I almost was going to ask him to come on early for that, but we have so much other stuff to talk about. Okay, so the Red Sox lose again last night to the Angels in 10 innings, 4-3. And here is Alex Cora. Now, you tell me, is this man not waving the white flag? You got to be kidding me. I don't know how you keep him on board after this. Go ahead, Angel. Here's Alex Cora after the game.
How much are these close losses, eating at you?
No reverb today.
I mean, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, it has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager, so I got to keep pushing them to be better. They're not getting better. They're not. We keep making the same mistakes. I'll be very honest about it, very open about it. You get frustrated, but at one point it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What's going to change, because we keep doing the same thing. We can keep talking about one-run losses. They're 17, 18, whatever it is, and it's the same thing. So, is it effort, preparation, like Duke said, attention to detail, I have no idea now. I watched that game. I was like, wow, this is real, it's frustrating.
If that isn't how can you continue? How do you continue with him as a manager? I don't give a damn what the contract is. Look, the Patriots bought out, and now it wasn't as much. They bought out Gerard Mayo. Things are not going on. This isn't just 1 year. This is going on. Just the fact that you led the league in majors now with 276 errors over the last 3 years. And it's an organization issue also with the Red Sox. It's obviously, and I'm going to try to get Lou Maloney on tomorrow. They have an off day. And I think he's going to agree with this. This team is just fundamentally inept. I think it starts in the minors. And we were talking about this with Sean McAdam last week. He brought up such a great point. There's a philosophy issue with regarding how to play Major League Baseball. It's obvious. Some of the issues, tagging up from second or third on a short fly ball to right field, like Meyer did the other day last week, is, to me, that's just, you got to have common sense. There's a certain common sense issues, but you can't. There's a philosophical way, and the way that this organization tries to teach fundamental baseball, they don't. It's not working. It's not working at all.
In that piece, you can definitely tell. It's like he's basically saying, like, listen, I tried hitting, I tried the coaches, I tried this, I tried that. Nothing's working. And then we also see with teams as well, when it gets to the point where the player's like, you know what? I'm just done with this dude. There's nothing else. He's not telling us any different. So it seems like it's a combination of both. The manager giving up and the players, you just kind of throwing a towel as well.
Well, it trickles down. And that's what I've said. It trickles down for the way he's handled the pitching staffs. He has managed them, to me, to at least 5 or 6 losses this year. It's probably more than that. But the players deserve most of the players deserve a ton of responsibility as well. There's no doubt about it, from their approach to the plate. But it's a philosophical thing. It's the way they're being taught how to play, and it ain't working. Scroll one more down, Angel. After the game last night on NESN post-game show, Tom Caron, Devin Marrero, and also Will Miller-Brooks talked about what they heard. And I've known Tom for years, and I'm telling you, there's no more of a straight shooter than TC. And when he talking about the demeanor of one Alex Cora, everybody should listen. I don't need Tom to tell us this, but right. He's fantastic. This is not something that you hear a lot on Red Sox postgame shows, but TC, like Sean McDonough when he was there, always willing to tell the truth. Check this out.
I've covered every game he's managed just about. I've never heard him like that. I've heard him very sort of despondent, quiet. I've heard him angry, but this is a different level. He's saying, we're not getting any better right now. He said, we're making the same mistakes over and over right now. Pull that out of the way so you don't keep hearing that. I've never heard Alex Cora.
He's fed up.
Fed up is the perfect way to describe that.
Right, and there's a lot to unpack there, but at the end of the day, it's like, look, we're not doing the fundamental things it takes to win baseball games at this level.
Bingo.
And yet we keep doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting it to change. Is that not the definition of insanity, right? Mm-hmm. Something's got to change. And he's saying, hey, all I can do is keep pushing these guys, but nothing's changing.
I think it really gets to him because he's an old school player.
Yes.
And he really prided himself in his career on doing the little things right. Like, these are little things that we all learned in high school to do. And now that's kind of like the game. These kids going through the systems aren't learning these little things. They're learning launch angle and exit velo. They're not learning these little intricate things, hitting the cutoff, moving runners over, looking at the outfield's position of how they're feeling the fly ball so you can move over because you know they're not going to make a good throw. These are little things that you learn as development in the minor leagues and in high school, honestly. And he's fed up, and it's good that he's taking accountability and putting accountability on his players.
He said, among other things, he said, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, this has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager. So, I got to keep pushing them to get better, but they're not getting better. They're not. We keep making the same mistakes. I'll be honest about it with you, very open about it with you. You get frustrated. I watched that game, and I was like, wow, this is real. This is frustrating. Those are the words from the manager, Alex Cora.
Well, I mean, you can only mask it for so long, right? You can only say, hey, you know what? This is a good team. We're a couple pitches away.
We're young.
But at what point did those couple pitches away keep happening every single day? We're in June.
You have to hold the players
You know what? It
accountable.
is a talented team. It sure is. Guys went down. It's got to be next guy up, and you got to find ways to win games. And how do you do that with a young team? You do the little things right. And the little things have not been right at all.
Not even close. Again, they've gotten worse, and they tend to get worse at home. They have 16 multiple error games this season. 10 of them have been here at Fenway Park.
Oh, my God.
3 errors last night, 3 errors tonight, 1 run losses both nights.
Yeah, great job by those guys. Great job. And then you got Brian Bale last night, who I really like, and I think he's an up-and-coming. I mean, he's got the talent. But here's the thing, the other philosophy. The first time he's been able to get out of the fourth or fifth inning, that's mostly because of Alex Cora. But last night, he gets to the sixth inning. He actually threw 103 pitches last night. He goes 6 innings, gives up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, walked 2, and struck out 4. The problem I have is he goes to the dugout, Angel, last night as I'm watching, as he gets pulled for Weissert, who comes in. He gets to the dugout, and like he's all smiles, and like it's like he's done this unbelievable job. The Red Sox were losing 3-1. I don't want to see that. You want to. I mean, okay, you had a quote unquote a quality start. Wonderful. Oops, wonderful. Should just do that. Good for you, Brian Bayo. You had a quality start. I don't want to see this jubilation walking into the dugout when your team is losing, not even tied, losing by 2 runs. It's another bad look. This organization fundamentally is a joke right now, an absolute joke. Those guys just summed it all up. Stuff that I've been saying, Angel, for the last 3 weeks. You learned some of this shit in high school. You learned it in Little League. You learn a lot of this stuff, I'm serious, in Little League, then to Babe Ruth or high school, and then to Legion Ball, and then into the mind. This is fundamental. And they just, as you said, as these guys were saying, at the plate, they're caring more about launch angles and all these stupid, idiotic statistics, analytics that don't mean anything. They don't teach you how to not tag up from second to third on a short fly ball. They don't teach you how to field balls, how to be in double play formation. Then, have your second baseman throw the freaking ball at home last week on an inning-ending double play. instead throws it away. I mean, Christian Campbell last week. I mean, there's so many little things. And as these guys were saying, what I've been saying, all these little things, they fuck up and they fuck up every single game with errors. And fundamentally, they don't run the bases well. They drop balls. Their approach to the plate is awful. They've let a ton more runners on base last night. It's a whole bunch of little things. It's not just one thing. The manager has been terrible. He admits he is part of the problem, and you're keeping him on board. You can't do this. You can't. You're just the only teams worse than you in the American League right now are, I mean, the Red Sox are about a game and a half away from being in last place. Baltimore's going to surpass them. The White Sox are terrible, and it's awful. By the way, the Rockies won back-to-back games last night. Won last night, back-to-back game, first time. Of course, it's against Miami, in front of like 4 people. But this organization, this cannot continue. It simply can't. And then, now the trade rumors are out there about Jarren Duran. I know the Padres are very interested in him. You're going to hear start rumors and stuff about Aroldis Chapman. He's going to be a hot commodity. And I can't wait to see if the Red Sox do deal, especially Jarren Duran. I mean, if they give up on him, unless they get some sort of a huge monster deal back for him, then they've given up. And I don't know what's going to happen here. All I know is this team stinks fundamentally. It's tough to watch, and I've been watching. I've missed like 2 games, maybe 3 all year, start to finish. But I sit there every night and I watch, and it starts in the first, shake my head. And the only reason why they got out of the first inning last night, without the only reason, because they were giving up runs in the first inning in this series like there was no tomorrow. And the only reason why they didn't last night, Story made a great play on a line drive that was hit, and I forget who was it. It might have been Trout, actually. Trout or Ward, I forget. And they doubled up the runner on second base. Otherwise, that would have been 1-0 Angels right out of the gate again. But they survived. And then they were down, then they're down. They're down in the game, 3-1 in the second inning. The Angels come right back at the top of the second. They score 3. Red Sox score 1. And then in the the bottom of the 6th inning, the Red Sox did tie it on this.
He's at 253 now. Swinging, there's a shot. High and deep. And kiss that one goodbye. Completely out of Fenway. Say Don with number 5. A 2-run shot. And he destroyed that one to tie the game. 3-0, Obi.
Yep, and then this is how the game ended. Sometimes I usually play these cuts, and it's because of a long, home run, a blah blah. But the Red Sox can lose just like this too.
Kelly's 3-1. On the ground to third. Toro to Campbell, back to first, the double play. Neto scores. And the Angels take a 1-run lead.
But that's huge for the Red Sox, especially at home. You get the guy at second. 3-1 count. He was down. Was he able to turn 2?
Now, what you don't know, in case, as I was throwing Kleenex at the television during the 10th inning, is how they got there, how that run got there. So, Shonel leads the 10th inning off for the Angels with a sacrifice bunt, bobbled by Zach Kelly, the pitcher, bobbled. Nato goes to third base. Then Mike Trout walks to load the bases. And then you heard the double play, but the run scored. Pitcher bobbled the ball on a sacrifice bunt. It's just so frustrating. It is absolutely so frustrating to sit back and watch this team on a nightly basis and they find new ways to screw it up. Unbelievable. Oh, my goodness.
Jerry had texted and he said he was thoroughly convinced that the only reason he signed that extension, meaning Alex Cora, is to get fired. There's no way he's managing this baseball team. He wants to get fired.
Well, look. He's given up. It's a question of the stupidity by the Red Sox to give him this big extension. And now I don't know how. And where is John Henry? Where is Breslow today to come out? And you got to say something. Tonight before the game, whenever they meet the manager, or whatever else, they got to hunt Breslow down and ask him for comments about your manager, because he's given up. He's given up. He's thrown it in. There's no question. I thought he gave up a long time ago. He's thrown in the towel. I don't know how the GM can hear those comments and not have and don't fire him. I don't understand it. And it's all, and I know why. I mean, I know the reason why. It's about money. And they're going to try to beep, beep, beep and back up. They're going to try to back Alex Cora any which way you can. And I don't know if you can do that anymore after the comments I heard last night. I just don't know I don't know how you do it. He gave up. He said it's on me. They keep doing the same things over and over again. My God. I mean, I'm not saying there's a Joe Morgan out there like in 1988 and Morgan Magic. And when they fired McNamara back then, Red Sox were 10.5 games out after they fired McNamara. And then they made that absolute unbelievable run. Toronto was in first place. I remember them sweeping the Blue Jays, and they cut the lead to 7.5. And they just kept winning. I think they went 20-1 under Joe Morgan right out. I mean, there was a spark there. And I'm not saying that is going to be the case, whoever takes over this team, if that is even indeed an option. But you got to do something. Meanwhile, you got Roman Anthony, their top prospect, who left the Worcester, or he left what was he doing? He left some, where the hell was he? A hospital, doing something for a charity or whatever else. He didn't want to be bothered by employees outside. He jumps into a laundry basket, and they wheeled him outside to his car because he didn't want to sign autographs for people. I mean, are you serious? The video's out there. I got to see. Did I tweet it out? Because you got to see this. I mean, it's just so typical Red Sox. What is going on with them? It's just a hard. I don't think I tweeted it. It was just a bad look.
It's gonna be just
a laundry basket to be wheeled out so he doesn't have to talk to the fans. That is so lame.
That is lame. And once you get disconnected with your fan base, and everybody knows, Boston fans like everywhere else. So Boston fans are very passionate about the Red Sox. You become that disconnected. I mean, the only other thing that can happen is. Obviously, the fans don't show up at Fenway. I mean, the Phillies went through it. When the Phillies used to have fans at maybe 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, the fans won't show up. I mean, they're not showing up now. They won't show up. But this guy hasn't even played an inning yet for the Red Sox. He hasn't even played. He's in Worcester, the AAA team. He's, people are wondering why he hasn't been called up. I don't know. Maybe almost suffocated in the laundry basket. Just so stupid. It's such a bad look. It's childish. And I hope somebody gave him a talking to, because that is just awful. I mean, who the hell are you? Roman Anthony. Okay, you're one of the top prospects in the majors, all right? You haven't played for the Red Sox this year. You haven't played in Boston, and you're hiding in laundry baskets. You want to sign a couple autographs. I don't get it. I really don't get it. All right, Angel, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we will have some reaction to this Tom Thibodeau firing, of the ridiculous, pathetic New York Knicks, and get some reaction. Mad Dog Russo had a lot to say, Stephen A. And stuff, and they're all, I think Mad Dog kind of hits it on the head, but the rest of these people are just, they're Knicks fans. You are more delusional than Maple Leafs fans, and that's saying a lot. Delusional. Get on the bat line, Knicks, Maple Leafs. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure you have call waiting, because they're going to be banging down the door to come and work for your pathetic organizations. Way to go, Dolan. How's that rock band treating you? All right, Pete Sheppard here on the Coastal Sports Network. We are back after this.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad you are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
I mean, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, it has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager, so I got to keep pushing them to be better. They're not getting better. They're not. We keep making the same mistakes. And I'll be very honest about it, very open about it. You get frustrated, but at one point it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? What's gonna change? Because we keep doing the same thing. We're gonna keep talking about one-goal losses. 17, 18, whatever it is, and it's the same things. It's an effort, preparation, like Luke said, attention to detail. I have no idea.
How in the hell can any organization keep a manager on after basically admitting I can't do the job anymore? I can't do the job anymore. It's like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3 when he finally gives it up to his nephew, Andy Garcia. He's like, I can't because his nephew take over because I can't do it anymore. And not it's that, dramatic. But nevertheless, I mean, you don't hear managers give up. Is that not the epitome of giving up? Yeah, nobody is responding to me. Nobody is. We keep doing the same things over and over. Quote, we're not getting any better. They're 5 games under 500. They're a game and a half behind the Orioles for last place in the American League East, or 2 games. I mean, it's ridiculous. You cannot keep this guy on. I don't give a damn what money you got to pay him off. I don't care what the contract is. This is an absolute embarrassing, one of the most embarrassing moments I've heard a manager say for the Red Sox in a long, long time. I'm serious. We've had some doozies, and we've had some illogical thoughts from some. I'm not talking about guys like Terry Francona. Some delusion for John Farrell, even though he won a World Series, also finished in last place, but won a World Series. I mean, from McNamara, certainly Joe Morgan, who was an excellent manager, did some unorthodox things over the years. Don Zimmer, Walter. I mean, I can go back through so many different managers. But I don't ever remember in my lifetime basically saying, hearing a manager say basically, I can't do it anymore. They're not listening. They're not responding. You hear all the usual minutia from a lot of these managers when their butts are on the line. Oh, we're going to keep plugging away. We're just doing the best that we can do. You heard Alex Cora say, yes, 2 days ago. I see a lot of good things. No, you don't. You saw 3 more errors 2 nights ago. You saw 3 errors last night. You're not seeing it.
Does he need a motivational trip from one wild thing in Miami down there and give him some inspirational words?
As sad as that statement is, it actually might work, although I don't know. but yes. Yeah, still, I haven't heard from Mike McDaniel in seems like years.
Nobody has.
I really miss him. We're getting close to football season, though. We're in June, so we're going to be. We got mandatory OTAs are going on right now. This, that, and the other thing, and hopefully we'll hear from the Dolphins. I'll try to find a cut.
That's okay.
All right, top of the hour today. Mick Colaggio at 8:05. We'll get into Game 1 tonight of the Stanley Cup Final between Florida and Edmonton. Bill Sparrows at the bottom of the hour at 8:30. And we treated one of his columns today. I think it's about Brad Marchand. And Marsh should be playing tonight for the Florida Panthers. I'll be rooting for them, but I am picking Edmonton in 6 for the record. And we have got Patrick Gilroy at NBA Insider coming up at 9:05. All right, let's get into a little bit of reaction here from Tom Thibodeau. Let's start with our good friend, if I may, Angel. Chris Mad Dog Russo on Sirius XM yesterday. And Mad Dog Unleashed goes ballistic and destroys Jim Dolan, not for his guitar playing in his band, but for the release and firing of Knicks' Tom Thibodeau.
Hang on. Oh, maybe I'm going too. No, that's too far down.
Yeah, it's way too far down. Yep.
Gotta come back. It's getting
right
closer.
There. Yep.
Right here. All right, and away we go.
And everybody knows who follows, who sees, who watches the NBA, knows if Anthony Towns or OG make a free throw, or if God didn't let the ball bounce in with Halliburton's 3 or 2 at the end of game 1, the Knicks would have won that series. But this is about Dolan. Don't let anybody hear you. Don't let anybody in America hear you say, this is Leon Rose. Nonsense. Nonsense. Rose and Thibodeau are tight. He's his agent.
Yep.
This has got nothing to do with, you think Rose wanted to fire Tom Thibodeau after he got to a conference final? But Rose doesn't have any power there. Dolan does. He sits on the baseline with the dopey hat on, thinking that he knows something about, but he wouldn't even know who George Mikan is. He knows nothing. He's there because his old man was a brilliant businessman, and he took over. That's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. It's the guy that ran Marv Albert out of the building.
He's right.
Can't figure out a way to get Oakley straightened out and get him back in the good graces of the franchise. What a joke. You know what? Here's what I want. You know, this is such a ridiculous and such a stupid firing. Have Dolan have the, first off, he's awful when he talks because he fumbles. He doesn't come clear. Oh, he's terrible. He's not what you think of when you have an executive. But have him, I don't want to hear from Rose. Rose be the bag man. I don't want to hear from Rose. Everybody knows that Rose had nothing to do with this. This is Dolan. Have Dolan sit there and get peppered with questions by legitimate media people, not guys who work, and I'm not saying they're not legitimate, but they're in a difficult situation, not the guys who work for MSG. Let him have a press conference for, I don't care if it takes 6 hours, and everybody has a chance to go and ask him a why. Because this is not fair. This is not fair, what they did to this guy, who gave his life and blood to the franchise and took him to the conference. Fun, I've been there since 2000. My God almighty. And you get him out because you lost a rugged 6-game series to Indiana? Oh, come on, please. What a disgrace.
Hey, and he's 100% Mona Lisa Vito, dead on balls, accurate with that. Now, scroll up one Angel and one Stephen A. Smith. He does exactly what Mad Dog didn't want to happen, is start bringing on Leon Rose, who's got nothing to do with this. And Mad Dog is 100% correct. He's got no power here. But Stephen A. wants Leon Rose to be accountable. You got the wrong guy.
Talking about, and speaking of Leon Rose, in the Knicks announcement, Leon Rose made a statement, Stephen A., and in it he says, our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. I'm curious if you think they're a step closer by doing this, by making this move.
No, they're not a step closer. And to be quite honest with you, I think we all as New Yorkers should find Leon Rose's statement offensive. Get the hell in front of a microphone and a camera and answer questions. Stop being a coward. Because that's how he's acting. I'm not calling him that as a man or as a person. I'm saying that's how he's been acting as president of the New York Knicks when it comes to communicating with the media and articulating the decisions that you make and why they are being made. This is the problem with the arrogance of the New York Knicks, okay? They deserve credit for what they've achieved. I applaud them for elevating us from basketball purgatory into relevance. I truly, truly believe that. But in the same breath, when you make the potpourri of decisions that you have made, could you have the decency to stand before the media and answer the questions? Stand before the growing public and answer the question. That statement is as weak as it gets. It emanates from a James Dolan-run organization who doesn't want to communicate with the media himself, who never wants to answer any questions, and they get away with it because they don't have to answer to anybody, because they know that Knicks fans are still going to show up at Madison Square Garden, patronizing their product and their brand, and doing everything that they can to make sure that they support the team.
About the Red Sox.
The New York Knicks as an organization know that that's coming. They know that you're going to support the Knicks no matter what Leon Rose does, no matter what James Dolan does, and that's why they get away with acting the way that they're acting. Leon Rose has done a damn good job. Nobody can deny that. But it hasn't been a flawless situation. There are moves that could have been made that could have better positioned the New York Knicks to be in a championship situation, the one that they're craving for now. but it hasn't happened. And then you're going to issue some weak-ass statement like we really, really care? I don't care about that damn statement. I want to see Leon Rose stand before the camera and justify firing a man that just took you within 2 games of a berth to the NBA Finals right after you decided to trade 5 picks for a guy that never even made an All-Star. I love Mikal Bridges. I love the fact that he's a member of the team. But the fact of the matter is that he has an up and down year. And when you look at a Luka Doncic being acquired for Anthony Davis at just 1 pick, when you look at some other moves that have been made and it didn't require those level of assets departing, and you give up 5 first-round picks, including 4 unprotected for Mikal Bridges, and that vastly contributes to compromising the vision and the aspirations that you have, stand before the media and answer them damn questions. But we can't expect Leon Rose to do that because since James Dolan has arrived, that's not something that he likes, and Leon Rose seems to fit right in. A matter of fact, one could legitimately argue that his willingness to avoid the media to answer these questions is is just as much of a big reason as to why he got the job as it is the job that he actually did, which has been a pretty damn good job.
And without the
Yeah, I mean, again, I think pretty much accurate, and maybe I misinterpreted him. He was Leon Rose. Some lackey could have written that, and he's got no power. Mad Dog is absolutely right. He's just a puppet. Jim Dolan's got to come out and gutless, like John Henry is gutless, and won't come out and address any of these issues. Won't say anything except for a little walk in the park at down here at JetBlue down the street from my house. Earlier this year, I had a little powwow with some of the local writers that were hand chosen, and that was all fucking, coffee with the owner. What a bunch of bullshit. What an absolute bunch of bullshit. And I want to hear from Breslow, what Stephen A. and what Mad Dog was saying. It almost sounds like you could parallel that to the Red Sox. Now, you can certainly justify the fire of Alex Cora. You cannot, the way Thibodeau was fired is absolutely ridiculous. But it's not a surprise to me, and I know it wasn't a surprise to Patrick Gilroy. I guarantee it wasn't. It won't be, or maybe a tad. But we had talked about this because he was, if he didn't do something, he was going to be on the hot seat anyway. A lot of people thought Thibodeau was going to be fired. After the first round, if they didn't make it out of the first round, he was going to get fired. Then they go out and they get out of the first round. Then they beat the Celtics, banged up or not. They hung in there with a lot of heart. They came back several times from 20-plus point deficits. A team that's well coached doesn't quit, and they didn't quit. They just lost to a better team. I told you the Knicks weren't that good. He got about as much out of that team as you possibly could. And maybe, if they stayed on course and tweaked a move here and tweaked a move there, they could be right back in it as contenders in the Eastern Conference. But nope, they are going to take a giant step backwards, I promise you, from this. And their jackass of an owner, Dolan, who won't face the media, just like the Red Sox owner, John Henry, won't face the media. They are cowardly in their profession, not as Stephen A. said, not as men, not as family people, all that stuff. I'm talking about in their profession. Cowardly. They don't have the balls to stand up and face the heat, and they should, for trying to supply a product or products in New York and Boston, respectively, that are absolute horseshit right now. Is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Spalding says, good morning, guys. Yep. I like that Spalding guy, yes. Auto Racing DSA. Spalding, get your foot off the boat. All right, meanwhile, if we could scroll 2 more down, Angel, on NBA and ESPN, this is Sham Shrinaria on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and now they're talking about, along with A.J. Hawk, about what type of a coach should be expected. I have not heard this cut yet, but I guarantee you're going to hear Jay Wright, you're going to hear Dan Hurley, you're going to hear Mike Malone. Those are the guys they're going to be talking about.
What are the names in the coaching pool for this coaching cycle?
I'm not sure yet which direction they go, but you think about, for Tom Thibodeau, the issues that they probably had with him. You think about what Mikal Bridges said early in the year, and I think a comment like that rings true. Like a guy that, might trust his bench more, a guy that might be a little bit more lenient based on his principles and what he wants to enact. I mean, clearly the way Tom Thibodeau coached, for better or for worse, he was very, very. I won't even say stuck in his way, but he had a way that he was going to operate. That's what it was going to be. He was not going to change. And for better or for worse, now it leads to a lot of success. All these guys have career years, but clearly the Knicks, I think the direction they're going to go in now is figuring out a guy that they know can build out the entire roster, the bench, can work with the front office, is a little bit more lenient based on what their strategies are, and not so, Tibbs has success his way or the highway. In this case, I guess the Knicks gave him the highway.
Yeah. I mean, just it's a philosophy of idiots. Of idiocy. It really is. And the Red Sox are in the same boat right now because they don't have the balls to fire Cora. So we'll see what happens with the Knicks. My gut feeling is it's going to be Mike Malone, but we'll see. The Dan Hurley thing, you're going to hear about that ad nauseum, and he's going to have to go through that with his family. But this time, at least, it's only down the street from Stores to Madison Square Garden. So I don't know if they make a Godfather offer to him. Maybe they do lure him away from UConn, but we'll see. The Lakers couldn't do it because that was on the West Coast, but because the Knicks are closer to home and his family, this time he might consider it. Whether he wants to do it is a different story because he just signed a huge deal with UConn as well. Jay Wright is certainly a possibility, but I think Mike Malone is going to be at the top of the list. And good luck, Mike, who also graduated a year ahead of me in my high school, another Bishop Hendricken guy. But Mike wished you well. So we're all over the place, Angel. My alums are all over the place. Rocco Baldelli is going to get Manager of the Year. The Twins are like 50-1 the last 51 games, like ridiculous. They just keep winning. Meanwhile, we get these quotes from our manager, my manager, Alex Cora. Quote, routine ground balls for double plays, we don't turn. We throw to the wrong bases. We miss cutoff guys. PFPs, pitcher fielding practices are horrible. There's a lot of bad right now. But let's keep them on. Let's keep them on, and let's just keep it going, shall we? Let's just keep it going. Until what? Your manager admitted last night he that's it. They're not listening to me. I can't get them going. I can't get them motivated. Please fire me. Let me out of this, whatever. But they don't have the balls. They don't have the balls to do it. Perfect time to do it is after the game tonight. They get the off day tomorrow, and then the Yankees come into town. Ooh.
It's bad because again, the fundamentals are gone. And we see, even in football, it's starting to be the same exact way. How long did it take for him to release it? The trajectory of the throw, what was the arch angle, blah, blah, blah. All the minor stuff that we used to learn when we played Pee Wee baseball, when we learned a little fundamentals, they're all gone. And then you want to make it where the managers are no longer tough. They have to be, you can't talk to me that way anymore. You have to calm yourself down. I need to go into my own headspace and figure out exactly what's going on. You got to toughen up a little bit. And if you're players and athletes, you got to figure out, okay, let me take my own accountability and let me stop blaming it all on the manager, because if he's trying his best, we need to try our best, but it's never going to happen.
No, they're dead meat. And if it doesn't happen today, or the off day is today, but they play at 1:35 today. If it doesn't happen on the off day, then if they go into New York and get creamed, which is they're going to Bronx. They're not coming to Fenway. They go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They go 0 for 3 in New York, and they get pummeled, or because I think it's only going to get worse. I think it's only going to get worse. And there'll be those out there like, well, maybe playing the Yankees would be a good thing. They're in first place. I mean, they'll be motivated. I mean, I'm past when they should be motivated. They should be motivated now. They're a game and a half, 2 games away from being in last place in the American League East. I mean, it's just absolutely beyond embarrassing. All right, let's continue with a little MLB rundown. Cubs over Washington last night by a score of 8-3. White Sox surprisingly beat Detroit by a score of 8-1. And how about those Colorado Rockies?
Here's the 2-1. This ball crushed deep left field, way back. Told you I hadn't hit a homer in a while. 3-2 Colorado. How about that, Hunter Goodman?
Do it, Hunter.
Can count the fans. You can hear all 5 of them. Angel, can you look up the box score and see if you can find the attendance last night?
Billy, he's a
do me a favor.
one-man wrecking.
I want to know the attendance of that game last night in Miami. Colorado won back-to-back games for only the second time this year. Absolutely unbelievable. All right, Houston and Pittsburgh, and a good one with Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates, but
a better place to have a team dinner.
Christian Walker gets into one deep to left field, all the way back and gone. Walker connects a solo home run, the first run of the game, and the Astros lead 1-0.
Big walk with the big stick. Got a sweeper hanging right over the middle part of the plate. And he put some fire into that one.
All right, thanks again to Space City Home Network, but the Astros were not done. We got the ninth.
T-shirts and more. Visit MLBshop.com.
Paredes gets into one, high and deep to left field. Forget about it. 3-0 Astros. Isak Paredes with a big swing. And the Astros lead 3-0.
You like that one, huh? Look out the Paredes. Fastball up. And with that pitch up, Isak Paredes elevates to celebrate. A couple extra runs for the Astros.
All right, so again, thanks there. Houston wins 3-0. The Yankees in Cleveland in a tight one. It's close until the 7th inning. Yankees take over.
Driven deep to left field. There it goes. See ya. Back to back by the Yankees, and they lead 3-1.
We talked about his home runs on the road. He's given up 11 now. I was going to be very disappointed, Michael, if you didn't get to say see you a few times.
Yep, thanks to the Yes Network there. Jazz Chisholm hit a home run earlier. Yankees hang on. They beat Cleveland 3-2. Meanwhile, Philadelphia Phillies and Toronto Blue Jays went at it as well. Phillies got it going early in the first.
And here he swings and belts one right center field up the alley, and that one's going to go. And welcome back, Bryce Harper, back-to-back with Trey Turner. And it's 3-0 to start.
Welcome back, Showman.
Meanwhile, Trey Turner was not done. We head to the top of the 8th.
Turner, and he hits this one deep to left, and Davis Schneider can only watch as that one flies into the Blue Jay bullpen. And a 2-homer night for Turner here in Toronto. As the Phillies expand their lead, it's now 8-1.
I mean, I was just about to say after the second inning, I mean, they literally have only had like 4 or 5 base runners. And
Okay, thanks again there to NBC Sports of Philadelphia. Phillies go on to beat Toronto easily by a score of 8-3. Cincinnati doubled up Milwaukee. This game was so close. Here's how the game ended, thanks to the FanDuel Sports Network.
Center field, Friedel. At the wall! He made the catch, and the Reds win! He takes away a bomb from Bowers, and the Reds survive to tie the series.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. They won 4-2 last night. Arizona over Atlanta 8-3. Tampa Bay continues to win. They beat Texas 5-1. KC over St. Louis 10-7. And that one, Baltimore got by Seattle 5-1. And in 10 innings, the Padres made it work.
Cronenworth, another broken bat, but that'll do. Into right field and a base hit. Jackson Merrill checks in, and for the first time tonight, the Padres lead. A 2-out RBI single from Jake Cronenworth here in the 10th.
Jake Cronenworth will gladly sacrifice that shillelagh for a base knock and an RBI to break the 2-2 tie. Uncle Snappy in the house. Jake letting his teammates know, oh yeah, I'm the man.
Helio Ramos, by the way, had a 2-run homer for the Giants earlier in the game. They were up 2-0 in the third, but San Diego comes back and wins 3-2. Minnesota keeps on doing what they do. They just win. It seems like they have 7, 8, 9-game winning streaks, 12 out of 13, whatever it is. Minnesota beat the A's yesterday by a score of 10-3. And in 10 innings, the Dodgers and the Mets went at it again. Very close. Let's head to the bottom of the 10th inning, I should say.
First pitch, Freeman lifts one the other way. Back goes Nimmo. Still back, still back. It is over. Freddie Freeman drives in Tommy Edman.
The Dodgers come back and win it in 10.
All right, thanks right there to the Spectrum Sportsnet Network. All right, let's take a quick break before Michelangelo joins us. And Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Mass. is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. Is that Marlins Park?
All right. According to the stats, 5,894.
No way.
There's no way you're counting 5,894 folks.
Divide that by 10. You have 504 people there, maybe. Not even enough to keep the electricity going. Phil Cassidy, Sports World at Saugus, Mass. Keep that up. Is New England's largest place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Now, they're also having a great thing coming up at the Kowloon at 948 Broadway in Saugus, Mass. Great Asian Kowloon, world famous, really is. Sunday, July 27th, this year from noon to 2 p.m. Come on down there and meet Sports World presenting Bruins goalie Jeremy Swayman. There'll be autographs available and some limited memorabilia for that as well. But head on down to Phil Castanetti's Sports World anyway in Saugus, Mass. at 184 Broadway. Call 781-233-7222 for more information. 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus, be there. All right, quick break. Michelangelo will break down Game 1. They actually break down the whole series. Edmonton and Florida, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. We're talking about it next here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
I guess turning into an annual event for you and the Florida Panthers, the third time. How does it feel?
Really good. A bit of almost of an achievement. People said you must be getting used to this by now. This year was a real challenge. There's a lot of unknown on how much of it is coming with the Stanley Cup hangover.
There's Florida Panthers head coach Paul Maurice. As a hockey guy, I'm sorry. I don't know how you don't love him. I just cracks me up. I like everything about him. Anyway, welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show. It's hour number 2, and our NHL insider, Mick Calazio, joins us today as we start to talk about Edmonton and Florida tonight at Game 1, finally in the Stanley Cup Final in Edmonton. Before we get to that, Mick, I got to ask you, because you're a huge sports fan as well, and you follow everything. I'm trying to remember, I'll just go back 25 years, maybe 30. After listening to Alex Cora last night, which I've been saying for 3 weeks, he's given up. But for him to finally admit it, that he's basically given up. I don't remember any manager, coach, whether it's Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots, or others around the nation, make a give-up speech like that, and is probably still going to be gainfully employed because the Red Sox have no balls to eat the money on his contract and let him go. I'm just blown away. I'm blown away. He's given up. Admittedly, so given up.
Fredo, you're my brother and I love you, but don't ever take sides against the Red Sox again. You don't make up a give up story like that.
You got to do the pause when you say, but don't ever take
pregnant pause
again. Pregnant pause, and then ever.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Maybe it's like Billy Martin without the entertainment. Remember Billy Martin used to either quit or get fired by the Yankees and get brought back within the week. It's like it was back and forth, back and forth. He was like Billy Martin managing the Yankees was like Mike Keenan with goalies. He would switch goalies like on the fly.
Yeah, but Mike Keenan, got the finals and won a cup, and I mean, he's cuckoo. We know he's cuckoo. Anyway, it blows my mind how I've just never seen a manager for the Red Sox, and we've had some goofy ones over 40 years and say some different interesting things, but this one takes the cake. And the fact that he's going to remain, can you imagine, what if a Bruins coach What if a Bruins? What if Montgomery or Cassidy just recently, or Claude Julien had whoever sounded like that? Would they have survived a press conference after saying what he said last night?
Well, Claude Julien, I can't remember how long he lasted, but his second tour of duty with the Montreal Canadiens was when they hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the TD Garden one day in advance of a game against the Bruins, his first in Boston since leaving the Bruins. And I asked him, you used to say when you coached Montreal that you break things into small pictures, they become manageable. And then maybe you can get this thing straightened out. And but he said, well, you got to have the players to do that. And I'm thinking like, all right, well, there is an admission. That's a white flag if I ever saw one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's rare that you get this. The talkers in the Boston radio are saying that Cora sides with Rafi Devers in the whole, situation.
Well, that's true.
About, so now maybe he's trying to win over the superstar, be his ally, and then the superstar will hit for him, and that'll be the foundational thing, and the rest of the details can get worked out.
No.
I mean, when
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's not going to happen.
I mean,
it's a
well,
philosophical.
the problem.
It's the way they are taught to play baseball. I think Lou Merlone brought it up. There is a fundamentally brain cramp in this organization. It starts at the beginning. It's the way they're taught. This team has 267 errors, the most in the majors since 2023. Alex Cora last night, which I played his cuts, they can't field, they can't throw. You saw the pitcher last night, bobble a sacrifice bunt. They don't run the bases well. This is not a fundamentally sound organization. The manager is a big part of it. The players have a big responsibility, but it's starting in the minors. They are only taught about stupid analytical stats. They care more about their approach to the plate, to bat speed, launch velocity, all that crap that means nothing without heart and soul and fundamental baseball. You can have all the analytics you want. If you can't...
Remember Bobby Valentine was trying to practice with these guys like they were 12-year-olds? Maybe he's the right guy now, because it sounds to me like they need the remedial work that he wanted to give them when he had his crack at it some years ago.
My favorite Bobby Valentine story is me, Buck. I'm hosting. Glenn wasn't there. We're at Fenway and back at Center Field where we used to do Wednesdays, and he comes in, and they just came off a 2-7 road trip. And then I said, Bobby, the 2-7 road trip. I said, not a lot of positives. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, we won 2 games. I go, yeah, but you lost 7 and you won one of them on an unearned run. He goes, no, it's a positive road trip. I go, you're telling me that a 2-7 team is on a road trip is a positive one, and then coming off a sweep by the A's. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, okay. Get on your bike, take your little paper bag, and he says he invented the wrap. Remember that? He said he invented the wrap while he was in Connecticut. All right. Anyway, we digress. I think this organization.
We digress.
We digress.
And here I was thinking we were going to talk about Marchand's big moment.
Oh no, we're going to get to that. Yeah, how big? For the record, you have not Jedi mind tricked me, but I'm going to pick the Oilers in 6 in this one. I'm going to pick the Oilers in 6, and not to say that the Panthers can't adjust, overcome, and adapt, because I've been on there all year and all the way through the postseason. But I just have a feeling. I'm going strictly gut feeling that Edmonton's going to find a way to win this in 6. But that being said, for Bruins fans and all the ones that are listening, how big a role do you think Brad Marchand is going to? I could just say he's got to score 1 big goal at least. It's going to happen, or have a couple of great assists. But how big a role do you think he can play on this Florida Panther team, which you tweeted out, Knobloch on the Panthers, quote, this is probably their best team.
Yeah, which I disagree with.
Okay.
I don't know how Brandon Montour. How many years ago did Brad Marchand put the lick on Ryan Callahan's face in the 2018 playoffs, lick. Right? Okay. So 5 years removed from that, Brandon Montour is in the game 1 of the playoffs against Brad Marchand, and the two come together in a clinch with the linesman and a couple other players. Montour's got his tongue going like a porn star. I mean, he's baiting Marchand, and this is 5 years removed and Marchand is obviously that was a pivot point in Marchand's career. He almost got moved by the Bruins over that. And he became a leader after that. It was really, if anybody ever writes the Marchand book, that's going to be a big moment. That's going to be what happens in the aftermath of that with management in Boston is going to be a big turning point. And he becomes a leader from that point forward. He becomes an example setter, and he has his moments, but he doesn't do stupid stuff like that anymore. And so, but Montour doesn't miss a trick. So for Knobloch to say this is their best team, and others have said that too. William Montour is a former Panther who's going to remember that. He's only got one. He's got less than a year to have to remember that when he plays against any of these people. This is gonna be great theater because that guy never stops. Anyway, so you have Montour. You have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's a terrific talent who moved off to the Maple Leafs on cap situation for both teams, and this year they managed to do it with Nico Mikkola and Nate Schmidt, two guys whose careers were really questionable, at least in my mind they were, and they assimilate to the Borg. And they become excellent Florida Panthers in their roles.
Star Trek reference. I love it.
I mean, look at what they did at the fourth line. I mean, Thomas Nosek was a good Bruin as a fourth line center. AJ Greer was a disaster. AJ Greer was a penalty waiting to happen. He was horrible with the Bruins. Jesper Boquist was in and out of the lineup, even though he had a great moment to start the Bruins 2024 series against Florida, finishing a chance with Johnny Beecher. They had a 2-on-1 and scored. I think might have been shorthanded, might have been 4-4, whatever it was. It was fast break basketball on a hockey rink, and they lit it up, and it looked like the Bruins were off and running. But Boquist didn't even stay in the lineup after that. He was a fringe player with Boston. This guy's played some first line shifts with the Florida Panthers. It's incredible how, and Boston thought they were good at bringing out the better, if not the best, in players that they acquire from obscure situations. That's really Don Sweeney's greatest talent.
What does that say about Paul Maurice and his ability? I guess sometimes you got it. Not only does it X's and O's involved, but I guess gut has to come into play sometimes, or you got a feeling. He has. It's too easy to say he's guessed right so many times, but everything he does, for the most part, Mick, right, seems to turn to gold like King Midas.
Yeah, but I will say that I've always been a Maurice fan, all the way back to him being the last coach of the Hartford Whalers. I was a Maurice fan. I enjoyed his interactions then. He obviously was much younger. Yeah. Maybe we're dialing it back there to 28 years. So yeah, I've always been a fan of Maurice. He makes a good B-movie villain. He's easy to hate if you didn't like him, but I like him. He took a lot of crap in Winnipeg when he resigned. I think he's the only coach since Scotty Bowman to voluntarily walk away from a job coaching a team. It was his idea. I'm all done here. I'm out. So that was he took a lot of crap from Winnipeg, and fans didn't think much of him at all. So for him to do what he's done with the Florida Panthers and resume his excellence in another setting that was highly charged. But I said all of that to say this: we can't forget with Bill Zito, the courage that he showed, taking a 122-point team, and making massive changes to its core, making the blockbuster with Calgary that brings Matthew Tkachuk and changes the culture of the entire team.
What a deal that is!
Sam Bennett came along.
That's going to be one of the best deals in the NHL the last 15 years, easily.
Absolutely, because it's a game changer for the entire league, and that's an incredible. Some trades fall just seemed like, well, I guess it's fair value. I don't know. Maybe they said some people thought that the Calgary got the better of that one when it happened, and I thought no, because Kachuk's going to change how the Panthers act on the ice. Sasha Barkov is a tremendous, venerable Mount Rushmore Florida Panther. He is a modern day Jean Rattel.
Love that.
He
Great
plays with
analogy.
grace, with acumen. He is impenetrable by distractions and rough stuff. He just keeps on doing what he does. And so Kachuk personality wise and Sam Bennett personality wise and how they play the game are just beautiful compliments for a guy like him. Very much like the late 70s Bruins when Rattel had Terry O'Reilly. You know, he had these guys who would just run right through you. And then you had wonderful players back then like Rick Middleton and should be a Hall of Famer. And but the Panthers, to me, I thought that they would lose the opening round to Tampa. The Lightning really disappointed me. They fizzled. They had their band was supposed to be back together with Ryan McDonough aboard
They
and
got
Yanni
clobbered
Gord
in that
aboard.
series. They got
And Yanni
clobbered
Gord
in
just
that
got a
series.
huge extension there. Not huge money, but huge term. And so for them to rip through that series the way they did and dismiss them really was scary and so on brand for the Panthers. But I've shared this with friends and tweeted it out, blah, blah, blah. But not since the young Gretzky, Messier,
Yeah.
Curry, Coffey, Anderson, Fuhrer, Edmonton Oilers has a team played 3 straight normal, full-length regular seasons and gone to the Stanley Cup final in 3 consecutive years. That is the last time that happened. It's 40 years ago. I didn't think it was possible in the salary cap era, 1. I didn't think it was possible for a team that plays the way the Florida Panthers play, 2. I didn't, and also nothing comes easy for them. They don't. I mean, look at what happened last year in this series, this final, where they're up 3-0, and in Game 7 went down to
Yeah.
1 goal in the final minute in a frenzy, tie up the puck in the corner and just latch on and pray that this clock runs out. That's how it had to end for them, and that's the way they play. I think for teams that grind it out in physical hockey, then the wins are usually not too spectacular. So
Well, let me ask
I'm
you
with
this.
you. I'm with you. I'm going to tell you right now. I just
Well,
think
yeah, I knew you weren't going to pick
it's so
Florida.
highly unlikely.
But if Florida wins, I'm not going to be surprised. I just think, I think it's Edmonton's time. Let me ask you this: getting into the series, is it a lot of the casual people, they're going to say, is it just a matter of Draisaitl and McDavid being better than Kachuk and Barkov? Just those 4 players alone, and then it comes down to goaltending with Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton and Bobrovsky for the Panthers. I mean, just let me ask you about the forward matchups I just mentioned: Draisaitl, McDavid versus Kachuk and Barkov. Whatever duo has the better will win the series. Do you agree? Yes or no? And what about goaltending, Bobrovsky and Skinner? Who do you give the advantage to?
Well, it's a big thing how you play. Are you better than the other team at what you do? And do you have any fatal flaws? I don't think either one of these teams has a fatal flaw. I just think that if there's a fatal flaw, it's Florida's circumstantial flaw of being here in the final series for the 3rd straight year. Unlike the Tampa Bay Lightning, who needed an aborted 1920 season, followed by a full off season, followed by a joke of a bubble tournament, and then a legitimate but short 56 game regular season in 2021, the one that started with no fans in the stands. And then a very legitimate trip to the 22 final against Colorado, where the Lightning were all banged up and didn't get it done, but almost forced a Game 7. So this is different. This is such a march for the Panthers to do what they've done. Everybody talks about the Stanley Cup hangover. GMs have overtly admitted how real it is. I remember Milan Lucic talking about how the Bruins didn't feel like they even had an off season when they won in 2011, and then suddenly they're playing hockey again.
Yeah.
And trying to get rest and regroup and all of this and that and everything. And they wound up going out in Game 7 overtime in the opening round.
Yep.
So it's just as rare for Pittsburgh to pull off what they did, repeating in 17. They needed a good matchup. They got it with the Sharks in 16. They got it with Nashville in 17. And those were tough series. And they didn't have Chris Letang in their repeat season. I just think that without Montour, for Florida, and maybe it helps them in some regard to change out so many parts, the way the Blackhawks had to every time they won the Cup earlier in the Cap era, 3 times in a 6-year period. For Florida to have to change out so many people, and that may have helped them stay fresh, but still, it's the core that has to stay fresh. It's Barkov, it's Bennett, it's Kachuk, it's Bobrovsky, it's Ekblad. It's those guys. It's Verhaeghe, Reinhardt, who's been hurt.
Yes.
So how do you match up? Now, granted, the Oilers are without a huge finishing weapon there. With a bad fortune for them to lose a sniper the way they have going into the series. But I just feel like when you look at a generational talent like Connor McDavid, just like as was the case with Sidney Crosby, at some point it's their time. And he seems like one of those special players that you talk about, like Mario Lemieux, like Wayne Gretzky, like Sidney Crosby, that when those players come along, sooner or later, it's fully expected they're going to win. I feel like this is their time. So I feel like your 6-game Oiler victory is entirely reasonable. And it could be very much like how Pittsburgh turned the tables on Detroit in 09. So I'm leaning that way, and I just feel like it's too great an ask of the Panthers to go back and win again this year. But Bill Zito, credit. What a GM to do what he did after 122 President's Trophy season, to rip up his core and start over and say, we're not made of the right stuff here after they lost in the playoffs. And I'm thinking like, wow, that takes you-know-whats. And
Absolutely.
he did it, and credit to them. So anything they do at this point won't feel surprising, but I've been on the record all year long in saying this cannot happen. I also said they can't even go to the final, but they did. So there, I'm already wrong.
All right, Mick, you're the best. We'll definitely talk, next week and see where we are in this Stanley Cup final. But Rink Rap MC, what else you got you want to plug? I know you did a podcast with Hags, so what else you got going on?
Well, we're going to record again in a half an hour.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be up on X later today. Joe Haggerty, Pucks
All
with
right, let's
Hags
get all 3 of us on
podcast.
next week. Can we do that? Let's get all 3 of us on next week if you got the time.
I will discuss the matter with the man.
Okay. Mick, you're the best. Thanks so much.
On to your superior programming. Hey, we're finally getting heat up here. So we got the
Hey, good for you. Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald always has great memorabilia, like Mick does. What the scoreboard in the background from Mick has got? You got the everybody loves that scoreboard you have, the jumbotron in the back. You have 2, the one that I can see. Unbelievable. When Bear was a bug.
Thanks,
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, just like that, let's bring him in. But before we bring in Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald, great columnist, and bookies.com, I want to have him break out in a rash one more time.
Close losses, eating at you, frustrating you. I mean, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, it has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager, so I got to keep pushing them to be better. They're not getting better. They're not. We keep making the same mistakes. I'll be very honest about it, very open about it.
Thank God for that.
We get frustrated, but at one point it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? What's gonna change? Because we keep doing the same thing. We can keep talking about one-road losses. They're 17, 18, whatever it is, and it's the same thing. So, is it effort, preparation, like Duke said, attention to detail? I have no idea You know, I watched that game. I was like, wow, you know, this is real. You know, I mean, it's frustrating.
I don't know how any manager or coach in the four majors could ever survive after saying that, which is all true, which we've all been talking about. Then you see the stat last night of 267 errors that leads the majors since 2023. It's a fundamentally inept organization. The manager has a lot to do with it, but the philosophy of this organization and the way they trust analytics over just trying how to field ground balls, run bases, do the fundamental stuff that analytics cannot provide you with. This is a disgrace. And Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and bookies.com. I know that's a contract thing, and we all know the reason why he still has kept his job. How in the hell, Bill, can the Red Sox justify keeping him on as manager of this organization after those comments last night? How?
They don't want to flush $16 million down the toilet.
Too bad.
I think I tell you, it dawned on me last night. I think this guy wants to be fired.
Yes.
I think he's checked out. I think he doesn't care. And, it sort of struck me going back to that whole thing about his daughter's graduation. No, go to your daughter's graduation. But you remember when Doug Mirabelli got a state police escort?
I was there that day.
To Fenway Park.
Yep.
To catch for
Wakefield.
Tim Wakefield. The freaking state police, when they weren't busy trying to frame Karen Reed for murder, had enough time to take Doug Mirabelli to the airport, to Fenway directly from the airport. It probably took about 6 minutes. So if you want to manage, you can manage. If you wanted to go to your daughter's graduation and manage the same day, you could have easily done it. And to me, that's the tip. Not that he went to his daughter's graduation, but that he didn't do everything possible to manage that night because that's his job. He's always been kind of lazy. He's always taken shortcuts. He's a confessed, convicted cheater. When you cheat, that means you're always looking for the easy way out, always looking for the shortcut. Since the majors went to the PitchCon and he could no longer steal signs, he's like 7 or 8 games under 500 as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And again, stealing signs is part of the game, but that was really his strength as a manager. That's why JD Martinez hit 900 with runners in scoring position because he knew what the pitch was going to be. And once Cora lost that ability, he is a below average major league manager. And the Red Sox, because they like him, I think Linda likes having him around. Because
Why,
they like him,
Why?
They went all in on this contract for him last year. And, I don't think they care enough to fire him to eat that contract and hire somebody else. And he doesn't really care anymore about managing or winning or doing his job.
That's obvious.
So it's kind of going to be a situation where it'll get to the point where they'll say, okay, maybe after this year, I don't know. These people don't fire managers in season. They never have. So maybe in the off season they'll get rid of him. But
all right, Bill, let me throw this out at you though. They got the off day tomorrow. If they lose today or this afternoon, they're playing at 1:35. What if they go? They go into the Bronx this week and they get their butts whipped? Or even if they lost 3 games, 2-1, was that if they get humiliated by the Yankees this weekend? Is that going to be enough finally to put them over? They get swept in the Bronx this weekend. Would that be enough? I don't know. It should be enough of what after what he said yesterday. You didn't even have to say what he said yesterday.
Hey, Linda Pizzuti still posting Instagram stories about Liverpool. I just don't think it's there. I don't think, okay, quick plug for my column today when I talked to Bob Lobel.
Yes.
And I also asked him about the panic button, and he had a great line. He said, there's no panic button for the Red Sox because nobody cares.
That's true.
And that extends, that goes from the front office to the last row of the bleachers. Sure, people go to Fenway and want a great time. I met a couple from France last week in Massachusetts. They went to the Red Sox game the other night. They love it. That's what the Red Sox are. The Red Sox are a tourist stop for people visiting from France.
Bingo.
That's what they've become.
Bingo. Absolutely. Angel, are you able to show that picture from Marlins game last night real quick? Can you? This is how I hope Fenway ends up even during the next homestand. This is the incredible crowd last night, Bill, of announced 5,000 plus, even though it's like 500 plus. But, it takes a lot of balls to go to Miami to watch a Marlins-Colorado game. But I guess history was made as the Rockies won back-to-back games. They won last night again, 3-2. But this is how Fenway, and maybe they don't give a shit because they're going to get the TV money. But maybe if Fenway starts to look like this last night, maybe this will finally get the message. There you go.
Well, again, it's never going to look like that until September because you have people visiting the city who want to go. I mean, Boston gets millions of visitors every year. All they need is 15,000 tourists a night, and the place is going to look packed because they'll get 20,000 no matter what. Mm-hmm. So, they're again, what is the impetus from a Red Sox Incorporated, FSG Incorporated perspective? What is the impetus to fire Alex Cora? There is none. Yes, I get it. The team's woefully underperforming. They literally do not know how to play baseball. They don't know how to play baseball. I don't know what David Hamilton.
That's an organization thing. I mean,
what was David Hamilton thinking last night when he didn't take third base? Not that it would have mattered, but still, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, what was the guy thinking?
Please, what are they all thinking? They pitcher Bob, what's his name? Bobbles, the sacrifice. But and then you had Meyer last week go from second to third on a short Trevor Story fly ball. They can't field. Alex Cora said it. He said it last night. We can't field. We don't hit well. We don't do fundamentals. Our pitching fielding stinks. I don't know what else it takes. You got to. This can't happen. And again, if they go to the Bronx and they lose 10-2, 15-5, 14-3, he's going to survive that too. I mean, I
hope not. I hope he doesn't. But again, we are. They always talked about criminologists during the Cold War. I consider myself a Fenwayologist and a Foxboroughologist. You cover these teams, or at least you write. In my case, I write about them and I analyze them. And you do it long enough, you kind of understand the way they do business, right? It's like the Bruins, right? How do they do business? They fire Claude Julien the day of the Patriots parade. How do the Red Sox do business? Well, hey, the soccer team won the Riot title. They won the tear gas trophy. So we're good.
Well, they fired for Torque. Remember they fired for Torque on the West Coast. They fired for Torque when they were on the West Coast. And when that happened, I mean, yeah. So I agree, but I never heard a Bruins coach talk like Alex Cora. I was just talking with this Mick.
Well, I don't think anyone who ever played hockey would ever talk like Alex Cora, to be honest.
But just as somebody in charge of a professional organization, I mean, any other manager or coach in any of the four majors would be canned right this second, if not early. I mean, that is just like, you can't have it. You just can't.
Well, right now, the man is literally begging to be fired.
Yes.
He's pleading. He's begging to be fired. He so does not want to be here.
How do you tolerate that, though? You can't. Where's Breslow? Is Breslow, if I'm the Red Sox media today.
Do you think that Craig Breslow has the ability to fire him?
No, but if I'm anybody in that organization, I want to hear from Breslow just what his reaction to those comments last night. And I'm sure he'll bullshit his way through and say try to spin it in some sort of positive way. And they should be all over him. I mean, all right, ask him, how does the ownership, how does John Henry feel about the comments of Alex Cora basically giving up?
We've talked about this before. It's like, when they took 3 days to thaw Carbone for the autopsy, it's going to take 3 days to thaw John Henry out. So it's, you won't be able to get a reaction from him until Saturday at the earliest.
Is this going to be like Return of the Jedi when Princess Leia goes up to Han Solo and sticks that little thing and it unfreezes him, and he's still blind because he has hibernation?
I don't know. Again,
does John Henry have hibernation sickness like Han Solo in Return of the Jedi?
He's right now, him and Ted are chatting away.
What's that conversation like? Ted's probably screaming at him.
Ted is delivering a profanity-laced diatribe about pretty much everything. About everything.
But yeah, as you said, Carr wants to get fired and collect his check for the next 2.5 seasons, and the Red Sox are just got to swallow their pride and eat it. You cannot do this. It cannot continue to linger. It just can't. But I'm glad you talked with Bob on about 6 or 7 months ago, and I know he's been on TV recently. That's good. You get to catch up with him. How's he doing lately?
He
looked okay on TV.
He does a podcast with Lynch.
Yes.
I'm going to be on next week to talk about gambling.
Nice. We're just going to get to that in a second too.
So no, I thought with Marchand, and then I got to thinking as I laid it out in the column. We don't need to go back to go back 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like it makes you want to vomit when you look at like, oh my God, the owner of the freaking Warriors used to be a part owner of the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You get 2 NBA coaches in the finals, both with Massachusetts ties. You have obviously Bruce Cassidy, Chris Sale, John Lester. Nathan Eovaldi.
Yep.
Does anybody even remember the Rangers won the World Series just 2 years ago?
Yep.
And Nathan Eovaldi went 5-0 in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was that?
And of course, Bob would say, why can't we get players like that all the time?
And as Bob pointed out, and I really thought, in my mind, that was a real takeaway. It's different than it was, 30 years ago when he was talking about Jeff Bagwell. That was more fatalistic and funny. It's much more painful now because we've won, right? These teams have won.
Yeah.
And he thought he had a great quote where he said the real curse was winning 4 World Series, and then you have those expectations, and those expectations are not being met right now, and you get what you get, which is what's going on right now.
But there's expectations, Bill, and then there's what this man. Now I was trying to think the last 30 years, all the managers that we've had some really good ones, except for Bobby Valentine, who's just said really goofy things all the time, was terrible. But I don't ever remember, as bad as it may have gotten during certain eras of Red Sox history, I don't ever remember a manager saying things that Alex Cora said last night. I just don't. Even in the worst time, and it's because he knows he's got him, probably because he knows he's got him by the balls.
That's right.
But they should call him. They should still call him out. And you know what? He's in a win-win situation.
He's triple dog daring him. Say he's triple dog daring. Go ahead and fire me because you got to pay me, and I'm going to go on TV and make. See, that's the other kicker too. Is he probably has like a deal with ESPN or MLB Network or Apple Television in his back pocket that would probably pay him $20 million a year to be an analyst.
Well, that's where he needs to go.
His income is actually being hampered by the fact that he's still working for the Red Sox. Because the second he's no longer working for the Red Sox, again, Apple has more money than like every country in the world. And how much would they pay, just like Amazon paid, to get what's his face to do the NFL?
Yeah.
How much would Apple pay to get Alex Cora to be an analyst on those baseball games that nobody watches? It would be like he'd double his income. So if you're Alex Cora, you're like thinking, damn, the Red Sox are going to pay me no matter what, and I'm going to get a job with a streaming outlet or a cable outlet that's going to double my salary and I don't have to manage. Why do I please fire me?
Your column is riveting, and it really is, and it's going to make people angry because you bring up so many good names and points, and you talk about the Lobo Prize winner for the past 10 years. Hang on, I got to sneeze. Excuse me. And you talk about Mookie Betts, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Joe LaCobe, who you said, the Warriors, New Bedford native, Nathan Eovaldi, Bruce Cassidy, Kyle Schwarber, Dave Dombrowski, Chris Sale, John Lester, Chris Long. I mean, it's just.
But that's in 10 years, and I'm sure I missed someone. So I always put a qualifier in there. I always say many others, or I would never say this is the all-inclusive list. Which I that's really not the point. The point is to illustrate his point, which is, my God, it's like exponentially worse now than it's ever been.
It is so sad, and I still got to believe that the pressure is going to get to the Red Sox organization. This cannot continue. They got an off day tomorrow. It's the perfect day, and I still got to believe. And I'm really I hate to say it. I hope the Yankees clobber them 3 games this weekend. I really
not
do.
to go completely
That's the only way that he's got to go is to get humiliated by the Yankees. Then so be it.
We sort of long for the days of Lucchino and Steinbrenner when, like with Steinbrenner, it was always that off Monday in June when Billy Martin got whacked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, the Yankees have an off day on like Monday, June 10th. Look, well, Billy Martin's getting fired.
Yeah.
And this is it's that off day in June, right? It's that Monday in June, where you want to make a splash and you want to own, like, hey, look, I mean, there's always hope. The Knicks fired Tibbs yesterday.
Which is a disgrace, but
I only wish that I had bought the Celtics.
Yeah.
If I was dollar bill, I would have hired Tibbs. We would have already had dinner last night. The contracts would be signed this morning. And I would put Joe Mazzulla in charge of analytics to ignore. And I would get Tibbs behind the bench. 2 seconds.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, another Bishop Hendricken alum, my buddy, who graduated a year ahead of me at Hendricken. Actually, I think he left his senior year.
Salem State.
But he went to my high school in Warwick at Bishop Hendricken, and a former coach of the Denver Nuggets, and probably should be the front runner only because of the money. To be the head coach of the Knicks. But they will inevitably. It doesn't matter what the Knicks do. The Knicks are the Toronto Maple Leafs. It doesn't matter. They'll mess it up. You can fault Tibbs for maybe some bench management stuff, blah, blah, blah. First time in 25 years they've gotten to the conference finals.
They messed it up by firing him.
Who's the worst owner, John Henry or Dolan? I mean, that dope.
Oh, it's got to be Dolan.
I think so too. Which is saying a lot.
What has Dolan won exactly?
Nothing.
One Stanley Cup?
Won in '94.
And it's like I'll never take away anything that John Henry's done. I mean, I've probably written it 5,000 times. Yeah. But that doesn't exonerate him for the current state. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Bill. Last few minutes here. Let's get into because it's hard to. And like an idiot, I'll go watch the Red Sox today at 1:35. See if they make. Let's go 3-3-3. Let's make 9 errors. 267 errors since 2023, leading the majors. Just unbelievable. What is going on in the gambling world? I can tell you this. You said it was going to happen. Bovada will not let me go on mobile anymore, and now I am going to refuse to play poker on their site as well because I don't trust them getting paid anymore, because if I can't reach them on my mobile app, it's only a matter of time before I can't get them on my laptop. And that's the only reason why I did it. I use the Hard Rock app down here in Florida if I want to do some shekels and all that stuff on the hole. But now that I can't get it on my mobile app, I don't trust them to pay out when I want to pay out poker, which usually took about 10 days to 2 weeks. But I haven't tried in a while, and I'm not going to try anymore because of a lot of your columns. And it finally happened. When I couldn't get on the mobile app the other day, last week, I go, Bill did it. He nailed it. He said it was coming, and it's happened. But what else is going on?
There's a lot. I'll try not to get into the weeds too much. Yeah. But basically, the mainline story right now in the sports betting industry in the United States is that this 2025 was the first year, or will be the first year, that no new states have legalized gambling or sports betting since PASPA was overturned. It was on the docket in Georgia, Oklahoma, Minnesota, Texas, and Hawaii, of all places. Wow. And it failed in all those states. And to me, the tide is, there's a sea change now in the discussion about sports betting, where until this year it was very much, let's add it on to our state. It's let's bring these people in, let's help them make money and all this stuff. But what you saw this year, the other night in Illinois, they passed a per bet surcharge where the first 20,000 wagers are taxed at 25 cents per wager. The second, following after 20 million wagers per month, they're taxed at 50 cents per wager. And so that's a that's going to cost DraftKings about $80 million, FanDuel about $85 million a year. And that's money that's going right out of their pocket directly to the state. And that's a cost because of the way, and I looked into this a little bit, because of the way that it's structured, they can't just flat out put a 25-cent like surcharge on your bets, because they have to wait until they get their total and then they pay a flat rate of. So they can't really pass that on to the consumer because they have the same odds in Illinois that they have in Ohio.
Yeah.
So it's really a gouge, and this comes a year after they raised the tax rate in Illinois. So what's happening is you're having a lot of states, and it's still undecided in Massachusetts. You're having a lot of states where the states are running out of money. The federal government's cutting them off, so they're looking to raise revenue, and they're going like golden goose on sports betting. Because they think, hey, we'll just keep raising taxes on these operators. But eventually it's going to reach a point where, they're either going to pull out or look to other things. That's why you're seeing the prediction markets like Kalshi that we've talked about. All the operators want to get into prediction markets now because those are not taxed at the state level. Those are federally regulated, and you just pay a very small transaction tax. So a lot of the operators, your DraftKings and your FanDuels, and they're really looking at setting up their own prediction markets right now because they want to get around having to pay the state tax rates and get around some of the onerous regulations. So that's kind of a sea change that's coming. Now, speaking of Florida,
I was going to say, what about down here? Is it possible? I know there's no income tax down here and all that stuff. Not that they don't nail you in some other ways. People think in income tax-free states that you get off easy.
Well, the compact is pretty firm.
Yeah.
You're not going to see any of these changes in Florida because they'd have to modify the compact, and that's just not. I mean, they can't even pass a budget right now.
Yeah.
So what you may see in Florida, and I've spoken to 3 principals on this, is there are still continuing talks between the tribe and major sports betting sites. That's as far as I can go on that.
Yeah.
But there are major sports betting sites in the tribe that are in continuous conversations about opening up Florida via a third-party marketing agreement to some of these other operators. Because what you have is what the tribe is making now, which is over here.
Yep.
And then what you have is if other companies were to come in as partners of the tribe and do a much better job marketing sports betting, is this over here. So you have this money that's in between that nobody's making right now. So the real question is, of this money in between, how much of it would the tribe want and how much of it would these other companies want to make it worth their while? And that's really what the discussion has been about. The tribe has long ago passed the line of, hey, sure, we'll be willing to let other people in on our terms. They've already made that decision. Right now, they're in, and again, it's like these trade talks. It could take 5 years, it could take 5 minutes, but they are continually talking. And I'll tell you this, as the screws get tighter in places like Illinois and elsewhere, these companies are going to be more amenable to working with the tribe in a place like Florida to where they can just find money. Like DraftKings has to make up $80 million they lost in Illinois. Where can they make up $80 million? I got one state where they could probably make $80 million a year in partnership with the Seminole tribe and Hard Rock. So I think from a macro point of view, when there's a tax rate in Illinois and there's a per bet surcharge in Illinois or in Massachusetts, where they talk about raising the tax to 51% on operators, and they talk about limiting advertisements, or you see states like New York that won't budge on their tax rate, or Ohio that wants to double their tax rate, operators have to look at other sources of revenue. One of those is prediction markets, but the other source is a place like Florida where they can partner with the tribe and make money just marketing sports betting in Florida under the guise of the tribe. The compact allows for that because they would not be new operators. They would just be marketing partners.
Well, that's what maybe you answered my question. I was going to say, if you were the consigliere to the people here in Florida, the people in charge of all of this, what exactly would you want them to do?
Well, I think you have to look at what is possible. And basically what would happen is you would have DraftKings in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You would go on the DraftKings app. You would download the app, but the tribe would still have, you'd still be operating it through the tribe servers on their land like it is now. It would just have a DraftKings skin on it. And then DraftKings would presumably pay money to market customers. Hey, in Florida, you can bet on DraftKings, where the tribe would probably be getting 50 to 60% of that revenue.
Gotcha. Bill, this was awesome, as always. And when we speak next week, I will make a prediction by hook or by crook. If they get swept by the Yankees, he will not be there when we speak next Wednesday, if indeed the Red Sox do. If not before that, I still think there's got to be a breaking point, even for John Henry and organizations like the Red. There's got to be a breaking point. How it wasn't reached after 2 minutes after that press conference last night is beyond me. But I have faith. And I have faith. I'm going to trust my instincts that if they get clobbered by the Yankees this weekend, he's out. They're going to have to swallow it. And that's just the way it's got to be. But they may not. Anyway, thanks so much for everything. Check out Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and on his great columns. I've retweeted them. Great stuff today. And also senior betting analyst on bookies.com. Won't find a more qualified and individual. Should be down here running this stuff. Oh, you are down here, but you should be the consigliere. You should be the one in charge of.
I have consiglieried many sides in this discussion, at least in terms of journalism.
I hope you,
because they are very gracious with their time. I will give them credit for that. They're always willing to talk, never on the record, which I understand, but
yes,
they're very willing to give me their perspective because they know that they want me to share their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm happy to do. I just, as I just want to be right. I just want to be correct.
Absolutely.
And and I always tell people, look, I'm putting my name on my story in my column. I don't need your name on it. I just need to know what you know.
Exactly. Bill, you're the best. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.
Okay, thank you, Pete.
Enjoy. We'll talk soon. Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst from bookies.com here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. Quick break, Angel. And then Patrick Gilroy, our NBA insider. Can't wait to talk to him about so many different issues. He's coming up next here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
And everybody knows, who follows, who sees, who watches the NBA, knows if Anthony Towns or OG make a free throw, or if God didn't let the ball bounce in with Halliburton 3 or 2 at the end of game 1, the Knicks would have won that series.
Mad Dog yesterday. God is to blame. Usually God, that's a new one. A lot of people bring religion into sports all the time. Never in the losing locker room, always in the winning locker room, but God is the one responsible. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show here, final hour today on the Coastal Sports Network. And I'm going to assume Patrick is with us. Patrick Gilroy, our great NBA insider, is with us. You also hear him on this network on the Cat and Pat podcast, which is outstanding, with him and his wife. Patrick, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Pete. I'm doing well. How are we doing, man?
Well, it's you and I talked about Tom Thibodeau probably was going to get, this was way before it happened. I'm not surprised because it's the Knicks, the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NBA. So nothing real. I'm really not that surprised because only they, with the feeble mind of Jim Dolan, who cares more about his band than he does winning basketball and hockey games, Only he could do this with Leon Rose being his puppet and spewing out something that a 10-year-old lackey could have written yesterday. But just before we get to the rest of the NBA and the finals and your thoughts, your overall assessment of how the Knicks handled this situation.
Well, it's in perfect Nick fashion.
Yeah.
Depending on what articles you read, who you listened to, what phone calls you may or may not have received, about 50% of the reporters out there say this was 100% Leon Rose's call, and then the other 50% say it was 100% Dolan's call. So they can't even get on the same page when it comes to the messaging to their fan base. The Knicks fan base, love them, hate them, whatever your personal feelings are, they have had a rough go of it for the last 30-some-odd years. And Tom Thibodeau got them as close as they have been since the 90s, and Patrick Ewing and John Stark, right? So the least that you could do for your fan base, if you're going to make a seismic move like this, is get the messaging straight. And in perfect Knicks fashion, who knows who made this call, but it certainly wasn't made as a unified front, which tells me they've got no plan moving forward.
No, none. And but the big narrative is, well, they can't afford to miss on this next head coach. Well, I'll stop it. We didn't even hear that for decades. My guess is you're going to hear Dan Hurley, you're going to hear Jay Wright, you may even hear Jeff Van Gundy. Mike Malone probably is at the top of the list, and they'll probably throw a whole bunch of money at somebody. I don't know if they'd be able to Jedi mind trick Dan Hurley from UConn over there. Obviously, didn't want to take the Laker job, didn't want to go across the country, but this one's not that far away. I don't even know if he'd want it, to be honest. I don't know if I'd want to work for a man like that. I suppose money always talks, but who do you think might be the favorite to land this gig? Would it be Malone?
Yeah, I think Mike Malone's going to land at the top of every coaching vacancy list. There was no reason for him to get fired to begin with. I know that the Denver Nuggets, they struggled a little bit. They played 500 ball for the last 10 games of the season. But so what? His track record of success, winning a championship, consistently being in the championship conversation, that's the type of coach that if New York truly feels like they needed an upgrade, he's an upgrade over Thibodeau. But Thibodeau is, a top 10 coach in the NBA right now, and you're not guaranteed to get that back. And as far as Hurley goes, he's not going to touch the Knicks. Part of what makes Hurley so good is that when you're dealing with collegiate players, even though it's different now because they're getting paid and they're treated more like professionals, when you're dealing with collegiate players, your voice matters in the locker room. Your voice matters. That they've got no choice but to listen to you if you want playing time, if you want to increase your brand, your personal brand, you need to sort of comply. And part of the problem with the Knicks is they went and they traded away Julius Randle, who's an imperfect player, for Karl Anthony Towns, who is a lazy, imperfect player.
Mm-hmm.
And they bet their future on him. And that trade, ultimately, if you want to trace back where and when Thibodeau's writing was on the wall, it was when they traded for Karl Anthony Towns. I said it to you at the beginning of the season. We talked about it going into the playoffs, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's immensely talented. He's tremendous as far as his skills go. He's out of shape. He's a coach killer. And if he was really that good, wouldn't he have done something more substantial in the first 7 years he was in the league?
Yeah. No, all right. What about the Mikal Bridges trade deal, too, though? As people say, no, they got him for 5 picks in that deal. Mikal Bridges, was he worth what they gave up for him?
No, Mikal Bridges is a nice player. If you are truly a championship team, he can be sort of an upgraded version of a James Posey. But he's not a number 1, number 2, number 3, not even a number 4 on a championship contending team. He's a good player that the defense has to be aware of. He plays solid defense, and when he gets hot, he's hot. But he's not a foundational piece to a championship team.
And the other thing, too, let me ask you this about Leon Rose. Is he or is he not? Is he the agent for Thibodeau as well? Wasn't he? So that's why.
Yeah, he was the agent. I don't think he represents him any longer, but he was his longtime agent.
Well, that's why. But people to say that Leon Rose is anything but a lackey. This was not Leon Rose's call. No way, in my opinion, Patrick, was this Leon Rose's call. This was Jim. I like to play the guitar, Dolan. This was all on him. That statement that Leon Rose made yesterday, that, like I said, some 6th grader could have written that up with all the mushy stuff. That it's it's ridiculous. This was all about Jim Dolan. And then if they brought all the players to get their opinion, which I'm reading that also, I don't know about whether he should stay or go. I find it hard to believe a team. The one thing, the Knicks, as much as I hate them, but if Thibodeau is so bad, they never quit. I mean, they came back so many times from 20-point deficits, not only against the Celtics, but against the Pacers. And Mad Dog's kind of right a little bit. If the guy doesn't make that ball go in game one, who knows what might have happened? Who knows what might have happened? The one thing the Knicks did not do is quit. They just got beat by a better team because we both thought the Knicks just simply weren't that good. They weren't that good. They deserved where they got to because they played better down the stretch than the Celtics.
With
But
Mitchell and Hart, right? That's what they did.
yeah.
The Celtics. Look, you want to pull the God card? Okay. In games 1 and games 2, did God shut the lid on the basket in the Garden? Multiple 20-point leads. God's got nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
One of the most famous shots in Celtic history is Don Nelson hitting the back of the rim, going straight up and straight down.
Yep.
It happens. It's a hell of a shot. And if you want to be a basketball purist, and I hate to be that guy because God knows my professional career peaked my sophomore year in high school. But if you watch the way Halliburton shoots, it's a little unorthodox, but he's got perfect rotation on the basketball every time he shoots it. So that gives it a better chance of bouncing up and bouncing in. If you hit the rim, you hit the backboard. That's what rotation is for. And that's the one thing he does exceptionally well, despite his herky-jerky form.
We'll get into the game 1 between the Pacers and the Thunders coming up tomorrow night in OKC. Excuse me. The hot name this year and already is Giannis Antetokounmpo and what's going to happen if he even leaves Milwaukee, whatever. I don't give the Knicks any shot and chance in hell of getting him. I do give the Celtics a big chance in hell in getting him, especially now knowing that Tatum's going to be out until probably at least March, maybe even longer. But what are your thoughts? And realistically, do the Celtics have a realistic shot to get Giannis Antetokounmpo onto this team, which I think would be unbelievable?
Look, if you listen to Brian Windhorst, he is the Celtics as a front runner.
Yep.
In the people that I've talked to, they are going to make a play for Giannis, but they're not going to include either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown in that play. So you got to ask yourself, if financially they can structure a deal to make this happen, but you're going to have to, say goodbye to some talented pieces. And there's no interest as far as Milwaukee goes in bringing back a broken down Porzingis or a 35-year-old Drew Holiday. The package is going to be centered around future draft picks and Derek White's contract.
Yeah.
That's the deal. And as much as I would hate to, say goodbye to Derek White, he has been the perfect Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the talent on this roster, and you look at the elevation and the ascension of a Peyton Pritchard. You can easily fill a backup point guard role, but if you can pair a healthy Jaylen Brown with a healthy Giannis, you can even sell the fans on the idea that based on the 8 to 9 month timeline for Jason Tatum's return, that you could have those two and your big three before March of next year if Tatum comes back. So with the track record that Brad Stevens has had, you're going to hear about Jaylen Brown. You're even going to hear Jason Tatum's name thrown into a deal like this. But it's the trades that you don't hear about that Brad Stevens pulls off. So there's no way in my mind that the Celtics say goodbye to either Tatum or Brown. But there is a 40-50% chance that they put together the best overall package for a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. 5 draft picks, the contract, and Derek White's a very good player, not a bad building block if you're going to be a rebuilding team next year. And that's exactly what Milwaukee's going to be if they finally decide to move Giannis.
How about Al Horford coming back? I know he said like 7 or 8 weeks ago out of just some throwaway comments like, yeah, I'll be back next year. I don't know if anybody believes it. Do you think Al Horford will be back next year? And should the Celtics want to keep him?
Al's got a player option. The ball's in his court. So, people keep calling him an unrestricted free agent. And I guess technically until he picks up the option, he is just that. But the Celtics don't have the control in this conversation. It's 100% up to Al. Al's got a choice. He can come back for roughly $10 million next year to the Celtics. He can opt to not sign the player extension and become a free agent. And see, look, I know he came from OKC, but let's say OKC somehow comes up short.
Yeah.
He'd be the perfect guy to go to a team like that. So I think Al wants to be back in Boston, but I also think that Al's a very cerebral and intelligent human being. He's going to wait to see how these finals play out before he locks himself in for another year.
Now, you and I don't think like this, but a lot of the rest of the country does, and people at ESPN, and thank God for them, Thibodeau got fired. Otherwise, they wouldn't know what to talk about because they can't talk about anything else except the Knicks or the Lakers. But I'm at a point in my career, I'm going on 39 years, 38 and a half years doing this. I don't care what team plays what and where, and I don't care what markets they're in. All I care about is the quality of the game, quality of players. So the fact that OKC and Indiana might technically get some of the worst ratings is unfortunate because there's some great players on both teams. Now that being said, I'm going to pick OKC in 5, and I hope I'm wrong. I just think they're too powerful depth-wise. They're too good defensively, and I think Indiana is not, and Rick Carlisle, as much as I respect him as a coach, he's going to have to change it up a little bit. They can't do the run and gun stuff that they like to do. I just don't think OKC is going to allow it. And I think the Pacers are going to have a hard time just winning one game. Not saying they're all going to be blowouts or anything like that, but your thoughts on this upcoming series, and does Indiana have a chance in this to win?
Yeah, I think Indiana does have a pretty good chance. I don't think they've got a chance to win the series, but I think at a minimum they push it to 6. I can see this thing going 7 because what Indiana does so well is they make their opposition uncomfortable. And SGA is such a great talent, but he's a rhythm player. When he's comfortable and he's in rhythm, he's virtually unstoppable. But he also goes through these droughts where if he's defended the right way, defended well, he gets frustrated. He starts taking bad shots and bad looks. And those are the windows of opportunity that Rick Carlisle has to sort of have presented to his team. So whether it's a bad 7-minute stretch for SGA in the second quarter or a bad 5-minute stretch in the fourth quarter, it'll be up to the Pacers during those prolonged stretches of frustration for a guy like SGA, for the Pacers to maximize and capitalize and put enough points on the board. But I think that they're going to throw the type of defense at OKC that OKC is just not used to seeing in the Western Conference. And I think they're going to make OKC very uncomfortable. And if somehow Indiana can go into OKC and split the first 2, I think this thing goes 6, probably 7 games.
But what about OKC's defense making Indiana uncomfortable?
Yeah, see, OKC's got a great defense as well. But Indiana, like, if you look at what Indiana's done the last couple of years, the Celtics had a great defense last year. And I know that the series was short, but every game was close. They were able to expose some of the Celtics' weaknesses last year in that series. Even this year, when you look at the path that they took, they played some elite-level defensive teams. And again, this is where there's a coaching advantage in this series. And the coaching advantage is pretty clear, in my opinion. Rick Carlisle has been around the league forever. There's nothing that man has not seen. So if you are the type of NBA person that puts stock in coaches and the value that a coach brings to the table in a series like this, I think it's invaluable. And just to be clear about that, last year, the Celtics, a lot of people don't talk about this. Last year, the Celtics had Jeff Van Gundy. He wasn't an assistant coach, but he was a special assistant to Brad Stevens. He was at every practice. He was at most of the games, but he wasn't on the bench. And the Celtics had the best defense in the NBA last year. This year, they took a step back. These coaches matter when you get to this late stage in the season. And maybe the Celtics don't have some of the defensive lapses that they had this postseason if Van Gundy was still with this team. And that's where I look at a guy like Carlisle in a very similar fashion to Van Gundy, being an NBA lifer. And while we all look at this OKC team and say, wow, this is a historic team in so many different levels, they are a historic team this year. But Rick Carlisle's not impressed. He's seen it all before. And I bet you dollars to donuts that he has got a game plan that's at
Mhm.
least going to make OKC uncomfortable these first couple of games.
I totally agree. And lastly, and finally, Alan Hahn, besides being a Nick Homer and all that stuff, and I do respect him somewhat over there at ESPN. And finally got mad because ESPN is good. They just do such lazy programming and lazy topics. And this whole face of the NBA bullshit, Alan probably finally had it yesterday. It's such a nobody goes. Does anybody or your friends call you up, or you go to the water cooler, as we say, hey Patrick, who's the face of the NBA? Who gives a shit? I don't care if your answer is LeBron James, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's such a lazy. Don't you start screaming or my head wants to explode anytime I hear this lazy narrative on ESPN about the face of the NBA. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
It's the laziest topic in all of sports. The face of the NBA, if you're an NBA fan, is the face of the team that you're in the market of. So if you're a Celtics fan, it's Jason Tatum. If you're a Lakers fan, as much as I hate it, it's LeBron James or Luka Doncic. There is no unified face of the league. And maybe that was the way in the 80s and 90s when Michael Jordan was the face, because the league had never seen anybody as skilled, as charismatic, and could win with that. Not only win on the court, but win off the court with a smile. He was a advertiser's dream. All that being said, that was also before the days where, we still talk about market size. Market size is irrelevant. You can watch any game from anywhere in the world. It's no longer about what local market you're in and CBS's game of the week. People have to get out of that old mentality.
I agree.
It doesn't factor in at all.
They could be playing on Mars, and I would watch it. I mean, but this thing about ESPN is just obsessed with the Knicks and the Lakers, like they have to be. If all these players on Oklahoma City and Indiana were on the Knicks and the Lakers, I mean, they'd be orgasmic for a year. But because it's Indiana and OKC, and because they don't pay attention to those teams during the regular season, both on the radio and TV, and then they have the nerve to come out and act surprised at how good some of these players are. It's fucking embarrassing.
It's embarrassing for these guys to be professional analysts and put themselves in this position. What's also embarrassing is in this little prolonged break between the conference finals and the finals, rather than sort of zeroing in on these two teams that have accomplished this and are about to face off in the finals. ESPN, sends a camera crew out to LA, and they sit down with Luka and with LeBron, and then they spend 2 days talking about expectations for year 2 of Luka and LeBron. Who gives a fuck?
Who cares?
Right.
The expectations are they're going to be worse. That's the expectations. They will be worse next year.
Yeah, of course they will. LeBron's going to be a year older. Luka's going to be 10 pounds heavier. That's what's going to happen.
Yep. No question. All right, Patrick, what's coming up with you and Kat and Pat, and podcasts and all that stuff? How's everything going?
Everything's going well. I sent Angel this week's episode yesterday. It was a fun one. We had a few really serious ones.
Yeah.
It was a shitty month. But this one, can you imagine this? I had the water guy come and deliver 10,000 gallons of water to my pool. He showed up at 8 a.m. Kat writes him the check for $500. I get home from work at 6 o'clock at night, and I find Kat and I say, "Hey, you told me that the water guy came." I'm looking in the pool. The pool's fucking empty. So there was a leak. The pool sprung a leak. So that prompted me to then tear down the fucking pool.
Oh my God! Was it the casing underneath? That's expensive. Was it underneath? Obviously on the floor. That's expensive.
It was the second year in a row I had to replace the lining.
The lining. Oh my God.
Yeah. The pool is just not for us here in New England. I'm going to wait 4 more years till I move to Florida, then I'll have my pool.
Or you can, don't fill it up as much and make it a hockey rink.
Something like that. Well, the pool's gone now. I took a saw to it. I sawed the steel frame into 4 different sections. I could take it down. I was so pissed off that I'm out there at 8 o'clock at night. It's getting dark, and I got a saw going so I can get the pool the fuck out of the yards.
Unbelievable. All right, Patrick, thanks a lot. All the best. So let's talk next week and see where we are with this series. And hopefully, I agree. I hope Indiana can force it to 7. I love Rick Carlisle, and I hope the Pacers win, but we'll see. I just hope they're all competitive games. I don't want to see any more 40-point blowouts in these playoffs. There have been too many.
No. We'll talk about it next week, Pete.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. There it is. Patrick Gilroy, NBA insider here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. Well, Angel Martinez, great show today. That is about going to wrap things up. I think we have covered it all. I have to go take the dog out for a walk, get my beauty sleep, and then wake up after a nap to watch the Red Sox humiliate themselves, before they have a day off, and then head to New York and really humiliate themselves. But you can see I have no faith. None. What's up today on the network?
I feel you're so cheery. Talking Hoops will be back tonight. They're debuting once again after the hiatus, so they'll be on tonight, obviously, for the NBA Finals. It's about to start tomorrow, so they'll get into that. Also, some WNBA talk, as usual. Coach Mac, Coach T, Luther Riley. You guys join us there at 8 p.m. tonight. And, of course, you can always go back and listen to Cat and Pat on the radio replay on Sports Radio 102.9. Don't forget to always download the app. And also go back and take a look as well. As I mentioned, there's some changes over to the website so you guys can take a look and, just enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm going to tune in tonight to see. Maybe they can get jackass Jim Dolan on the phone, and he can explain why there's such a shitty organization right up there with the Toronto Maple Leafs as far as inevitable. Inevitable, the Knicks will suck just like the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are two teams. They are two peas in a pod. All right, tomorrow, great show lined up for you again. I hope to get Joe Zagacki, voice of the Hurricanes, before he gets on a bus/plane to go to Louisville for the regionals on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If not, I don't know, Rick Horrell maybe. Meter's definitely going to be on. He doesn't know that yet. And maybe Chris Price from the Boston Globe. Maybe Bill Burt from the Eagle Tribune. Maybe both. And God only knows who else. Angel, we're back tomorrow at 7 a.m. I will text you a list of guests a little bit later on. Thanks for doing this and producing this whole thing and chiming in. This is we'll be back tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. here on the Coastal Sports Network. See ya.